cheap and central accommodations. The City Hostel in Berlin's Mitte district. Rooms start at €17 and it's popular with young backpackers. But few guests know much about the place. North Korea owns the building and its flag flies right next door at the embassy.
I saw the flag yesterday and I wondered about the North Korean flag. I didn't know it was the embassy.
I'm in shock, but I haven't any other plan.
Seriously? No way. So, like, the money that you pay to the hostel goes to North Korea?
That is uncertain. Until 2017, that was the case.
What?
Indeed, until 2017, the youth hostel's operator paid North Korea €38,000 a month for rent. But then a UN resolution banned payment of rent for North Korea-owned properties. The regime might use the money to fund its nuclear weapons program. The German government has tried to get North Korea to comply. Although the embassy canceled the rental contract with the youth hostel operator and submitted an eviction notice, the process has stalled.
We, as the Foreign Ministry, stand behind this. And we are applying pressure to ensure that the correct legal situation is implemented. However, an eviction notice can only be applied if the appropriate court fees have been paid, and that has not happened.
North Korea has not paid the fees. Tom Schreiber, a member of Berlin's state parliament, suspects there is a secret agreement between the embassy and the hostel to keep the income flowing.
There will be no eviction, things will stay the same because it's also a source of revenue. But what also needs to be clear is that rules must be applied so that we can put an end to this.
After 2 years of litigation and no end in sight, the City Hostel Berlin is still in business.
Joining me now in the studio is Leonie von Hammerstein, who produced that report. Let's back up here a bit. Has this hostel violated international sanctions?
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. That was exactly my question when I started out with the report. And it's kind of a curious case because the North Korean government, as it said in the report, has indeed said it has cancelled the rent agreement with the hostel's operator in 2017, reacting to pressure from the German Foreign Ministry, the German government. But then it even filed an eviction notice, but then it never paid for the court fees. And then on the other hand, you have the hostel operator who's still operating the hostel and who has said that it has transferred the rent since 2017 to a blocked account. But we have Tom Schreiber, who we just saw in the report, saying that he's suspecting some fishy deal going on between the North Korean embassy and the hostel operator.
And it's been dragging on for months and months, for 2 years. What's going to happen next?
That's an interesting question. I mean, it seems like, and we just saw it in the report too, that the foreign ministry, the German foreign ministry, and the local level in Berlin Mitte are very committed to resolving this issue because it has become somewhat of a curious case. It's been, as you said, going on for a long time. It's also a question of credibility at the international level because Germany, I mean, is also has committed to imposing the UN sanctions against North Korea, and it has to prove that it is actually doing that.
Let's talk about the UN sanction in question, about the transfer of money. What is the rule that's actually impacting this situation here in Berlin?
Exactly. There are a lot of UN resolutions concerning the case of North Korea, especially because it is developing its nuclear program and has carried out various missile tests in the past. So the UN Security Council has issued a lot of resolutions, UN resolutions, including the ban of arms trade with North Korea, including the ban of imports of luxury goods into the country, but also including this specific aspect of it that is saying that it's banning member states to allow North Korea to use its property, its embassy grounds, for anything else but diplomatic activities.
So money transfers and diplomatic usage, proper diplomatic usage. It's very tricky. You mentioned about the pressure Germany feels, right? Anytime you deal with North Korea, you have to watch where the money goes and how it's being used. How do countries, when they come across a situation like this, how do they make sure it's enforced? How do they make sure they're in compliance?
Exactly. That's one of the biggest problems about UN resolutions by the UN Security Council, because the UN Security Council relies on its member states to enforce them. But obviously, there's such a long list of sanctions against North Korea. Some countries do not have the resources to check every ship at every port, to have that oversight and to comply with these sanctions. And there's no actual punishment for countries like Germany not to fulfill the sanctions. But obviously, as I said, it's a question of credibility. They have to remain credible at the international stage. And these sanctions were agreed on unanimously. So member states really committed to these sanctions against North Korea.
Leonie von Hammerstein, thank you very much.